It's time to delve into the mystical with the latest episode of Conquest TV, your indispensable guide to your Warhammer 40,000 Conquest subscription. This time we're looking at librarians, and these ones don't just look after books, they're the psychic warriors of the Space Marines, who use incredible mental powers to attack their enemies and bolster their comrades. In this video, we'll look at the background of the librarians, build and paint one, and find out how to use them in our games. Let's start by finding out exactly what librarians are. Librarians are Space Marine heroes whose minds have a connection to the warp, the realm of sorcery and madness that exists outside space and time. By channeling the incredible energies of the warp, librarians can obliterate foes with psychic blasts, create shields to defend their fellow Space Marines, and much more besides. In this new background, you'll learn about the recruitment and training of these warrior mystics, and their equipment, such as the devastating force weapons that they use to channel their power in melee combat. There's also an exciting short story about the defense of the Valius, a strike cruiser of the Dark Angels chapter that was assaulted by dread chaos demons in the depths of the warp. Luckily, librarian Cestor was on board to combat the demons, but I'll let you read all about that yourself. Instead, let's move on to building your brand new Primaris Librarian miniature. Right then, let's get started with the librarian. The librarian comes supplied, like all our models, on plastic frames, but there's a lot to take in here. He's so impressive, he comes on two. And as you can probably guess, we're going to need to use some plastic glue to assemble him. To build this model, just follow the steps as laid out in your issue. Before you get started though, I've got a couple of pointers. First up, when you're assembling him, it's important to build the librarian's body in the right order, especially when it comes to his robes. You'll see that part 5 is a small segment of cloth. This slots into part 6, but you have to do it from the inside. Secondly, we have an important choice to make. The librarian model comes with two heads, one with a helmet and one with a bear head. It doesn't matter which one you build for your game, so just pick the one you like. I'm going for the bear head. It'll be cool to paint that face later on. So cut off part 16 and use glue to attach it into the gap beneath his psychic hood. The Space Marine Librarian is a very detailed model, but don't be intimidated. He's basically the same as every other Space Marine you've painted so far. In fact, if you've done Lieutenant Calcius, you can definitely do the Librarian too. Just follow the guide in your magazine and you'll soon have your Warrior Scholar looking awesome. I do have a couple of tips for you to consider though as you paint. Firstly, the swirling patterns on the force sword of the Librarian. Now, I would recommend you paint the blade in lead belcher first and allow that to dry before painting the Retributor armor in the patterns on the sword. Now take your time painting this pattern so that you definitely get the best result. You'll also notice these cables underneath the librarian's arm. Now you can see that the smaller ones are painted in Abaddon black and the thicker cables are painted in lead belcher. Now you need to be really careful with these, so try and get a really fine point on your brush. If you do make any mistakes, you can always touch it up with Macragge blue on the armor or on the cape. Some rare warriors in Warhammer 40,000 are able to channel incredible powers to aid their allies or obliterate their foes. These are Psykers. As you learn the rules for Psykers, it's a good idea to play through a battle. Set up a game as described in issue 8. You'll need your game mat, the Primaris Librarian, and a unit of 5 Plague Marines. This is a fight to the death. The first player to wipe out all the enemy's models is the winner. With our models ready, the first thing we need to do is to introduce the psychic phase. Yes, that's right, psychic powers are so important that they get their own phase. The psychic phase happens right after the move phase. For now, only the Ultramarines will get to use this phase, as your Death Guard don't have any Psykers yet, and only the Librarian can use psychic powers. To use a psychic power, follow this sequence. Choose your Psyker and power, make a psychic test, resolve the psychic power. Let's go through these together. First, choose your Psyker and the power you want to use. Now, this is easy. It will be our Librarian, and he only has one psychic power in this battle, which is Smite. Smite is a dangerous power that can target any visible enemy unit within 18 inches of the Librarian. Next, make a psychic test. Every psychic power has a warp charge value. Roll 2 dice and add the score together. If the score equals or beats the warp charge value of your chosen power, it's successful. If the roll is lower, the power fails to manifest. But wait, psychic powers really are deadly. To use them, a psyker has to tear open the fabric of reality, and lots can go wrong when you do something like that. If you ever roll a double 1 or a double 6 when making a psychic test, demons from the warp tear into your psyker's mind and he suffers D3 mortal wounds. This is known as perils of the warp. Now, there were a couple of rules in there that could do with a little explaining. A D3 is a special dice roll. Roll a dice as normal, but half the number and round up. Mortal wounds are so devastating that no wound roll is required and they cannot be stopped by armor. When a model takes a mortal wound, immediately reduce their wounds total by the number unless they have the disgustingly resilient rule. This still applies. Now, if Perils of the Warp kills the librarian, his power ends immediately. Still with me? Good. So what if the psychic test is successful? Well, then the smite power works and the target takes D3 mortal wounds instead. And that's a great way to wipe out some Plague Marines. Okay, let's put all of that into practice with the Clear the Deck mission. The battle for the cargo deck rages on, and the Ultramarines have been reinforced by Librarian Arian. Recognizing a deadly foe when they see one, the Death Guard must kill him if they want to seize control of the ship. Now the Death Guard win if they can kill Librarian Arian, the Ultramarines win if they can wipe out all of the Death Guard. For this battle, increase the number of models on the board. The Death Guard get 2 units of 3 Plague Marines and a unit of 6 Poxwalkers. The Ultramarines get Librarian Arian and 3 Reavers. Remember when you play that Smite still needs line of sight, so the Death Guard can try and take cover if they want to avoid annihilation. Also remember that Librarian Arian is a character, so he can only be targeted if he's the closest visible enemy model. Once you've played through this mission, you'll want to try it with some additional rules. In the replay section, you'll find a second psychic power for your Librarian to unleash in battle, and rules for the Plague Marine's Blight Launcher, which is great at busting open the Ultramarines' armor. I'm sure you'll want to try out some more games with your new Librarian, as he really adds another dimension to your battles. I'll leave you to do that now, but I'll see you again soon for our next video, where we'll be looking once more at Poxwalkers and how larger units work in your games. See you then.